The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Derek Price. I'm with D4 Architecture, and I'm representing my client, Blvd Sheridan, and the project we are proposing is Elite Motors. It's a dealership. The address is 8160 South Sheridan Boulevard, and this is a rezone. So we're presenting to everybody to show what we're rezoning today. I'll let Av introduce himself. Go ahead, Av.
My name is Avak Shabanyan. I'm an owner of Elite Motors, and we're trying to do the rezone. And Derek will be leading this presentation. And if Derek need anything, he will let me know, and I'll jump in.
Great, thanks, Av. Next slide, please. This is our itinerary for today. So here's what we're basically going to cover. We welcome everybody, of course. And then we're going to go into questions and comment format. So if you want to jump in and you have a question, there's a procedure for doing that. We'll then go into the presentation where we'll kind of do an overview. We'll show you the site plan and the architecture of the building and anything else that's relevant to that. And then there'll be some additional slides that the planner for the case will come through and describe more on the process. And then we'll open it up for some more questions and comments. Next slide, please. Here's the format. As far as being able to type in, if you would like to jump in on this and ask any questions, this is kind of the procedure to go through and do that. We can then read them out loud, and then we can answer any questions that you would like to have. If you would like to speak, please feel free to type in, I would like to speak, and then we'll give you an opportunity to speak. We will, depending on how much time we have, we'll allow live speakers. Next slide. So we've kind of done some introductions already, myself, Vivek, the owner, and then the civil engineers are with Western Engineering Consultants. They're not here today, but they're involved in the process of putting together the PDP and the ODP. And then we also have a landscape architect that's involved in this project as well. Next slide, please. So here's the zoning map. It kind of basically shows what's around and what's relatable to our project. In the center of the 8160, where it says site, is our site that we're rezoning. And this slide basically just shows adjacencies. What is currently zoned around our project being commercial storage, commercial restaurant. You can see that the city of Arvada has their commercial projects across the street. There are some apartments that also surround the PUD, and keep in mind this is based off an existing PUD. And then there's also more commercial to the south of the site. So this basically gives you just a general overview of the different zones. And off to the right is just a legend that kind of color codes the zones. And this is directly off of the city website, off of their zoning map. Next slide, please. So here's some stats of the project. It is a very small commercial area, only 0.62 acres. The current zoning, as I just said, is a PUD and commercial building is what it's called. Proposed zoning is still the PUD, but we're adding automotive sales, new and used sales to that. That's simply all that we're doing to this site. So not a lot has really changed that we're asking for. The existing building is not going to change, so we're going to still have 1,400 square feet. So existing 1,400, proposed 14 is 1,400. So there again, we're really not touching the structure of the building. Site and amenities are pretty basic. Since it is a dealership, of course, you have a parking lot. We are going to be adding some bike racks, and then we're going to be upgrading the landscaping to the city standards. So it will definitely look like a nice project when it's all cleaned up and said and done. Next slide, please. Here's the site plan that we're proposing. The building is in the center, and you can see the parking that surrounds the building. And we are not really making very many changes. We will be adjusting the parking, the striping. We are adding a proposed ADA ramp to the upper northwest part of the site. There's a note there that calls out proposed ADA ramp. Where we do have a landscape plan that we're not showing here, but it does go through and show upgraded vegetation and plantings to meet the city requirements. Everything's per the city requirements for landscaping. And anything that's going to be upgraded is going to be upgraded to clean up what the existing is and keep it existing. So we're not developing any new buildings and new structures. It's really maintaining the existing that we have and adding the zoning as we described in the previous slide. There is a drive aisle that's existing as well that comes in off of Sheridan. You make a right, you go to the drive, and then you can turn into the site along the north of the site. And you can exit out that same drive. You turn right out of that drive onto North Sheridan Boulevard. I think that's it for the site plan. Next slide. And this is the design of the current building. And keep in mind that we're going to be upgrading things as far as maybe replacing things, but we're not changing the definition of materials or the look, screening for the rooftop units that's in place. So we already meet, I would feel that we meet around 80 to maybe 90% of the existing zoning already. And we're simply just going to be more or less cleaning up the existing building. And any modifications will be solely to the interior of the building and not to the exterior. So we might upgrade some glass, the windows, but the look of the building, the materials of the building will remain the same in effect. And so everything really doesn't, as far as the look of everything will not change. It'll have the look. The photograph below is what is existing on the site right now and represents what we're going to keep most likely for the building. And we're not going to propose anything drastic except for just cleaning up some things, maybe replacing some siding, fixing cracks and concrete and things like that. So nothing's really changing. It's just upgrading the site, making it look nicer and keeping what we have. So I'll just emphasize that we're not making any drastic changes. Next slide, please. And I think I'll go ahead and hand this over to Dave.
Thank you very much, Derek. Just a quick thumbs up. Can you all hear me okay? Anybody? Okay, good. All right. So on this screen here, again, Derek introduced this a few moments ago. These are the instructions if you'd like to participate. We've put this slide in a couple of different colors in a couple of different places in the presentation, just so that folks have an opportunity to see it and participate if they want to. My name is David Gurman. I am a senior planner with the City of Westminster Planning Division, and I am the project planner for this case, guiding Mr. Sheridan and Mr. Price through the application process. There's my information. I want to point out the project here is a preliminary and official development plan amendment. It's not quite a rezoning, but we are adding some new land uses as pointed out by Mr. Price. It's going to be auto sales used and new, which allows our applicant, if entitled, to sell either new or used vehicles or some combination thereof. And again, automobiles as opposed to heavy equipment or trucks or excavation equipment or things like that. The two processes that they're going to be completing are the development and approval of both a preliminary and official development plan. For those folks unfamiliar with these terms, a preliminary development plan is essentially the same as a zoning document for most other jurisdictions. It establishes the zoning and the allowed land uses, as well as a few other things, but those are the primary functions. The official development plan is more like what people would relate to a site plan. It's going to talk about the design of the site, the look of the building, landscaping, what's going to be in there for landscaping, how the pavement will be striped, and all of those other small details. So when you arrive at the site, what you're going to see is ultimately going to be documented first on that official development plan. This is the development review process that our applicants are going through. Now you'll see here at the top that it says preliminary development plan and official development plan in green boxes. Those are the two projects that are being simultaneously applied for by our applicant. And the process that they're going through, they start with a staff review, and then they have this meeting that we're having tonight, and then they follow up with additional staff reviews of their project as needed until the two documents are ready for public hearing. Then we will schedule public hearing before the Planning Commission and the City Council. The Planning Commission is an advisory body. They're going to review the projects, the preliminary development plan and the official development plan. They're going to review those documents, and they're going to make recommendations of approval or denial on those two documents. Then the project will go to the City Council. City Council will weigh the applicant's presentation and commentary and Q&A, questions and answers for the applicant. They will also weigh a staff report and staff input, as well as questions and answers posed to staff about the project. And finally, they will weigh the recommendation that comes from our Planning Commission. They will take all of that under consideration, and then eventually at that meeting, they will make a motion to either approve or deny the project, and they will give it final approval or denial. After that's done, the project will move on to civil construction drawings and building permits as needed, and that will be those will be the final steps for our applicant. Once those are completed satisfactorily, they will be allowed to go ahead and open their business. And because it's late in the season, they might not be doing the landscape installation this year. It might wait until spring of next year. But other than that, they'll probably make most, if not all, of the other site changes that are necessary. They can move in their stock for sale and begin their operation. So that is the overall development review process. Just in a nutshell, these are the kind of the big things that we look for when we're looking at reviewing a PDP or preliminary development plan. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the PDP is really all about what's allowed on this property. So as you see, the very first bullet point, the project needs to be in conformance with the comprehensive plan, which this project is. It needs to apply sound planning principles. It needs to be compatible with the area. and it needs to be safe and efficient. Essentially, though, these are very high-level ideas, essentially all geared to does this project meet the allowable land uses for this area? We believe at this juncture that it can and will and does, but that'll ultimately be codified into our agenda memo and then verified and decided upon by our city council. Next, we move on to our ODP, and you can see some of the key points of our ODP. Again, that's more of a site design document, so you can see some of the items that we might focus on when looking at an ODP. For example, we'll check, is our parking adequate? Are there good pedestrian connections to the sidewalks that exist around the site? Is the landscaping appropriate and adequate? And et cetera. Basically, is the site going to be a number of things? Number one, is it going to be safe? We always want to do safety first. Is the circulation in the site going to be reasonable? Can people get into and out of parking stalls when they're driving to the site? Can they park a bike if they want to ride a bike there? Can they walk up to the building all in a reasonable and safe manner? Is the site nicely maintained, and does it look right? All of those things are part of the ODP. There's other things that come into play in an ODP, like you see the second bullet point talks about stormwater drainage. A lot of that has been established because this is an existing site, but anything that needs to be touched up or corrected that might not be doing just the right thing at this juncture will be part of this process. We'll make sure that, for example, when there's a rainstorm, that the water properly dries or drains off of the property. Same with the snowfall. When the snow melts, make sure the water leaves the property appropriately and so forth. So those are the kinds of things that are dealt with in the official development plan, or ODP, portion of the review. Again, anybody who wants to participate, we'll just throw this up one last time. These are the rules for entering a question or making a comment on the project. Feel free. We always encourage folks to join in if they so desire. Finally, I will go ahead and give you some information about our applicant and our project owner. Again, Mr. Derek Price is our project applicant. He's from D4 Architecture. Mr. Avak Shabanyan of Elite Motors is our property owner and the business owner. My name, David Gurman. I work for the City of Westminster Planning Division. And at the bottom of this slide, you will see the link, that you would access to watch this slideshow and presentation on YouTube. And if you want to find out about the progress of this project as it proceeds through our process, you can look at that bottom link, which is our development status webpage. It's a little bit tricky to look at something on a slide and figure out, well, geez, what was that? What was that web address? I don't remember what it was. If you find yourself in that position, please just call the city, ask for the planning division, and ask for me, and I will guide you to it. I can send you the links in your email, or help you get there in some fashion so that you can look at all the information. As the project planner, I'm the keeper of all of the stuff that's coming and going on this project, so I can certainly hook you up with the appropriate information. That concludes our presentation for this evening. Jen Baden is our assistant tonight. Jen, do we have anybody in our lobby or who's otherwise waiting to speak or ask a question?
Dave, at this time, there is nobody that is asking to speak, and nobody has put any questions into the questions box.
Okay, no problem there. This presentation will eventually be on our website so that it can be viewed at a later time for those who are interested. Gentlemen, I would ask if either of you have any further comments that you would like to make this evening before we wrap up our presentation.
Thanks, David. I'm good.
Yeah, I do not have anything to add as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Jen, unless I'm mistaken, I think we're ready to wrap it up. Can we go ahead and do that?
We sure can, Dave.
Right.
I will go ahead and close the meeting and thank everybody for joining us.
Thank you, gentlemen. You have a great evening, and thank you very much for your help, Jen. Couldn't do it without you.
You're welcome. Good night, everybody.
Good night.